What's up, everybody, and happy Wednesday night, and welcome to another edition of All About the Birds weekly report here on the All About the Birds network, the flagship show here on the network. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Before we get started, make sure you like, subscribe, follow all our social media platforms so you can catch all our programs here on the All About the Birds network. I'll say we have our normal suspects with us, as always. Johnny Yu next to me on the left, Chip on the bottom of the bottom right, and then, of course, Phil, if he can keep his Wi-Fi going, involved at the show. So, and of course, myself, Eagle Jeff Warner. We have a great show for you guys planned for you this evening. A lot to get into. The NFL, they announced that there's going to be 17 games this season. The Eagles signed a wide receiver. But, of course, the main topic we have to discuss first, fellas, is, of course, the big, unpredictable, and questionable decision by the Philadelphia Eagles last week on Friday by them trading down in the NFL draft from 6 to 12 to the Miami Dolphins. The Eagles, if you guys haven't heard, you probably were living under a rock, but the Eagles traded back to 12 with the Dolphins. They gained the 123rd pick and a first next season, and giving up the 156th pick this year in the deal. So, fellas, your initial reaction. We'll start with Phil, since he hasn't had a chance to give his thoughts on the All About the Birds network yet. So, Phil, if you want to chime in first, your initial reaction to the deal when it was announced.
Well, if my Wi-Fi is working, I'll tune in. I'll pipe in.
We got you.
But cut me off if it's not coming through.
Yeah.
All right.
I will give you your shot.
I mean, the initial reaction was instant. It was instant frustration because at 6 you get that instant impact player, but when you trade back to 12, there's a lot more mistakes. But then after you sleep on it for a little bit, you think about it in a little bit more detail. You can kind of think of, well, if you weren't going to get Chase or Pitts, maybe trading back was the right call. But then on the flip side of the equation, you have to trust Howie to be able to make that right decision at 12. So there's a lot of still in my mind confusion on what the pick is and whether it's the right pick or not.
So I hear what you're saying with the whole Chase and Pitts thing, but that is not the issue. The issue is that we weren't going to be able to get the quarterback that we wanted, who's going at 2. With us going at 6, please remember that
I don't buy that.
The way it's shaking.
That's false.
I know, but the way it's shaking, it looks like out of the top five
I think
picks,
that's erroneous there. I don't think they were taking a quarterback.
I know, and I think that was a lot of clickbait, but at the same time, why? I've been saying for weeks they're going to trade down. You know what I mean? I this doesn't surprise me. It just so happens that the story that went with it is, hey, it's because they were looking for a quarterback. But if you look at the top 5 picks right now, it is very possible, almost probable, that 4 of them will be quarterbacks. So you continue to look at things, and there's still going to be good players at 12. I said on Monday night, though, I don't think they stay at 12. I think you're going to see them in the 17, 18, 19 range. They're not done trading, friends.
Johnny?
But the thing about it is, and how much this offseason have people complained and bitched and moaned about this team isn't young enough, this team is too old, there's too many veterans, you need to start getting younger, you have to build, you want to rebuild, retool. They make the trade, and then people complain about it because – you're making this trade, you're moving back, you could have got this guy or that guy. Who says they even want a receiver? Who says they don't want a cornerback or a defensive player? Or don't be surprised if it's, unfortunately, this is going to make people pretty mad if it's a defensive end. So I understand people's, complaints, but you have potentially have 3 first-round picks next year. You get a 4th round. Yes. You move up almost 30 spots. Actually, you move up 33 spots to get 123. So for me, you get enough you need young talent on this team. You need these affordable contracts. You have all this, if you want to say, assets. To me, it's a no-brainer. I like the deal, and I'm not going to say it was terrible. It was a great deal. I wanted to trade back, and I'm sticking to it. I like that. I like the deal.
Here's the thing. It wasn't surprising. You know what I mean? It wasn't surprising.
It sort of was. The fact that they made this deal before draft day, before a lot of the big pro days with like Florida today and Alabama, a lot of these top tier talent that that the Eagles have somewhat been linked to or possibly have been eyeing, and it wouldn't have come to a shock if this happened during the draft, but you do it a couple weeks beforehand. You don't know who's going to be there at 12. You don't know if your guy is going to be there.
Remember, they said this at the postseason conference. They said this when they hired Syria. They've said it over and over again. They need to get draft capital. This is not a time when one player. This is not a time when one player is going to fix this team. This is not a time when one player is going to fix this team. So looking at next season, when you have what looks like 3 first-round picks, okay, that means getting 3 potential absolutely stud starters on your team. I agree that it's a stacked draft. I agree that there's ballers, but this is not a one player saves this team squad right now.
But it's not a one player or a one draft player draft, but now your chances of hitting on a caliber player, a playmaker, a guy that can step in day one has just dropped quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Going from 6 to 12. Now, I understand the report saying that the Eagles feel that there's not much a drop in value between 6 and 12 with some of the players that possibly going to be available. But we all know Howie's track record. And we all know how we feel about him and giving him that chance to try to make that decision. At least at 6, there was quite a bit of a chance to get one of the top playmakers with the run at quarterbacks. So now it's a question mark of who's going to be available at 12. Do you get one of the playmakers? Do you get do you get one of the corners? We'll see. But as we brought up before on this show, is Howie more times than not is wrong, and we don't have faith in him to make that right decision.
But Jeff, I want to give you this. So you talk about stud playmaker. Okay, but the thing I like to bring up is Calvin Johnson was a stud playmaker. AJ Green, Julio Jones, all these stud playmakers. One player isn't going to get this team over the hump or into, great. The thing is, all those players, yes, they were studs / all-star type of Pro Bowl, perennial all-pro players. But the problem with it is, when you look at these receivers early in the draft, if you go year by year the last 10, 15 years, there's a lot more misses than there are hits. And
I agree.
if I'm looking at it saying, hey, I can get a cornerback in the late teens or the mid teens or get a defensive player, whether it's a defensive end or a linebacker or possibly an offensive tackle or something else to build this team and to add to the holes that are on this team, I want to do that instead of adding a wide receiver or, a tight end / athlete. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Kyle Pitts on this team or Jamar Chase on this team. Absolutely would love it. But the problem is that's not going to fix the issues that are on this team because who knows if Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback of the future.
We don't.
I want to believe he is because I really like his game. I want to see what he can do. I believe in him. But the thing about it is if he does not look well or they want a quarterback next year, they potentially have 3 first-round picks to be able to do that. That's why this trade was so crucial and smart in my way. You're getting assets.
But listen, there are 52 other positions on this team that have got to be filled. At some point, you have to let the guy try, right? So we had the whole shenanigans with Carson Wentz. He's gone. He's moved on. Jalen Hurts is the guy now. You have to – he is a cheap contract right now. He is a cheap contract in a year where contracts are really a problem. So you let the kid play out. If he's good, cool, you've got an answer. If he sucks, okay, you've got an answer. But you've got a cheap answer on a rebuilding bad football team. If Flacco beats him out in camp, okay, you've got an answer. The fact is right now we don't have any answers. So for them to just go, okay, we're going to take another quarterback in the first round at 12. Okay, we're going to get a quarterback at 3. We're going to look, you do need to set a quarterback. We understand that. But at this point, you have got a young quarterback on the roster with a small sample size. You don't know what he is. Let him have the season on this bad roster. That's it.
If that's the case, then why don't you stay at 6 then and get one of these playmakers? Why don't you build if you want to give him the best opportunity to succeed in 2021, you need to surround players and playmakers around him because right now we're extremely limited, especially at the wide receiving core. So
we also don't know. We don't know. We had a coach who didn't develop. We had a coach who just put players in. Development. So now they're talking, Jalen Reagor's going to play the slot. And that was the big story of the day. Yeah, he's going to play the slot. He's also going to play the out. You don't know if Hightower's any good. You don't know if Quez Watkins is any good. You don't know if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. You don't know anything because there was, for the last 3 seasons, 0 player development. None. 0. So you have young guys who are basically coming off of the pandemic with no rookie camps, no OTAs, no training camps, no field work, and all of a sudden they were just said, go play football without any kind of coaching at the NFL level. You're going to see something different this season.
But you look at pick 6 to pick 12, 6 to 12. You look at the impact players in that area, even a little bit after that. There are plenty of players. Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts will probably be gone. But there's guys like Patrick Surtain II. You have J.C. Horn, Kwity Paye. You have the offensive tackles. You have Micah Parsons.
Too many holes.
Surtain's gone. I feel he's going to the Cowboys. Cowboys need to rebuild that secondary, and if Surtain's there for them, he's off the board. The other guys, I agree with you.
Cowboys are getting defense for sure.
To me, if the Cowboys take Surtain, that's fine because the player I want is J.C. Horn, who is the cornerback out of South Carolina. To me, he's better than Surtain, and to me, he's better than Caleb Farley, who's at Virginia Tech as well. Those are the top 3 guys kind of right now. To me, if J.C. Horn is there, I stay at 12. I pick him. I understand the linebacker aspect that we've talked about, but he's the player.
It's not going to happen.
He's the player I go for is J.C. Horn because you get a player to play opposite Darius Slay. So that's
I hear what you're saying. Again, my expectation is that, make all your predictions for 12, just like we made all our predictions for 6. Settle in somewhere around the 17, 18 mark because that's where the Philadelphia Eagles will end up picking. They're not done trading yet, everybody. They're just not. They're looking for a player that can come in, take some snaps, and if he works out, cool. But they're planning on loading up for next year with the bigger salary cap. They're going to make their runs, and then they're going to draft their studs then. I'm calling it. It's going to happen. They're not done trading.
I don't feel they're done trading, but I don't feel they're building it for next year the draft more players. Between the next 2 years draft, they have over 20 picks, I believe, possible more with compensation picks and depending on what players they lose, go elsewhere and all of that. So honestly, there's three things that when I look at this deal what I've come to the conclusion with. First off, the Eagles have basically are looking past 2021 and already looking at 2022 because what else does what they're already throwing in the towel? Because what else does this trade tell you by passing up one of the playmakers to try to build around Jalen Hurts this season? Granted,
the expectation isn't building around Jalen Hurts. The expectation is if Jalen Hurts works out, then we will build around him.
I honestly don't feel they have much confidence in him. He's going to be a 1 year. He's going to be a 1 year player for this season. If he pans out or excels, okay, great. But they're looking to 2022 to see how they can get back on the winning track with all these draft picks, or it's going to come down to a bigger picture. And they're looking to. I agree with you. They might make another deal, but I don't think for the draft. They're going to try and make a deal. I think for one of these big quarterbacks, either Deshaun or Russell.
So, Chip, where do you think they go? So you're saying 17, 18 range. You're thinking they trade down into that range? You think that
I do.
Team now, are you thinking that a quarterback drops to around that area and people are calling the Eagles? Or you think five go in the top 10?
I do. I think, and all of a sudden, the kid from Alabama, Mac Jones, he's rising up. There is such an emphasis on quarterbacks. And again, it's the same logic the Eagles do. There's such an emphasis on quarterbacks that if you get a quarterback in the top 5, he's going to save your franchise. We all did it with Carson Wentz, right? Carson Wentz, we drafted as high as we did, and he was going to save the franchise. And but for no development, but for having the wrong mentality to be here, but for the injuries, maybe he would have. He's better off where he is. I feel that you look at the hype around these guys, right? You look at the hype around the throw by Wilson across his body 80 yards downfield. You look at the hype around the throws from Justin Fields today. Not the realism of quarterbacks out of Ohio State are usually trash money. You know what I mean? Trevor Lawrence, he had
that Mac Jones that
team.
Throw was it?
That was insane.
No, it was Zach Wilson's throw.
What were you saying, Phil?
Phil, we got you.
Drew Lock made those same exact throws in his pro days. So
everyone's
just because you can throw the ball doesn't mean you can play quarterback in the NFL. You know what I mean? Look at one of the better winners in the NFL in recent memory, Tim Tebow. Couldn't throw the ball a lick, but he won games. You know what I mean? There are different echelons of quarterbacks. If you can win and throw the ball, you're in that Tom Brady, Drew Brees category. If you can throw the ball, Peyton Manning threw the ball, wasn't necessarily a huge winner. You know what I mean? Trevor Lawrence is a winner, and he was coming from Clemson, where he was stacked with wide receivers. I don't even know if Trevor Lawrence is as good as the hype is.
Yeah, but what happens if this quarterback run doesn't? So if say three quarterbacks go, and Atlanta goes Pitts, Cincinnati goes Chase, Miami then goes offensive tackle, or they do something different. So what happens if Fields is sitting there, and then all of a sudden you don't have that 1, 2, 3, 4, and then maybe at 8 a quarterback goes? If you have a quarterback slipping, like I said, going back, then what happens? Because then it's pushing prospects down towards that number 12 spot. And that's what I'm saying. If a quarterback gets to that position, and what you're saying, Chip, someone's going to want to trade up,
of course,
with the Eagles. That's what I'm saying. What happens if that slides? If the quarterback doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, if a Fields or a Lance and a Mac Jones slips past 4 and 5, and they go into that 8, 9 range, and they're still there.
Do you think the Eagles are going to go back up to get the quarterback?
10, 12. What if one of them are still there at 12?
Exactly.
I don't trust Howie, so I'm sure they're going to draft a quarterback. My point is that there's 52 other positions on this team. They have to start filling them.
That no matter who they pick, and pretty much every position on this roster, if they would pick someone in this draft, would probably be an upgrade mostly in the first round. So
that's why they have 11 picks, though. It's that, that Howie. I'm not saying he's trying to be Mr. I'm brilliant. I'm the smartest guy. But my thing is, what happens if come
Smarter than
11?
everybody.
Yeah. What happens if come 10, J.C. Horn goes off the board? Come 11, Kyle Pitts is still there, and he goes to the New York Giants.
That would track. That would absolutely track.
I know Jeff mentioned it on Twitter about if Pitts goes right before the Eagles pick, either to Dallas or to the Giants, then what happens? I said Eagles need to stop worrying about who goes before and worrying about what the other teams do in the division. But it's going to be an uproar.
Look,
especially since they moved back. But honestly, I just looking at the draft, certain positions that both the Giants and the Cowboys need. I don't think they're going to go after one of those playmakers. The Cowboys, they already have CD Lamb and Mari Cooper and Gallup. They're pretty much built there at wide receiver.
Dallas needs to go defense. Yeah. Dallas has to go defense because with them signing huge money to I can't what the hell's his name? The quarterback. Why am I blanking on his name right now? With them signing huge again. Listen, it's raining. With them signing huge money to Dak, that offense has got so much money. You can't expect that offense to score 45 to 50 points a game while their defense gives up 40 to 42 points a game. They got to start putting defensive playmakers on there. And that's what Dallas is going to do. And let me rephrase that. If I was the GM of Dallas, I would insist upon that. Now, we all know it's Jerry's world, just like here, it's Jeffrey's world. It doesn't matter what the common sense says. It's who do you want? Remember, quarterbacks always get – this happens every year. Please remember, Johnny Manziel was going to be a star. LaMarcus Russell was going to be a star. You know what I mean? There is overhyping of quarterbacks. Eagles fans, we have to take a pause here. What is being intelligently done is they're loading up for next season. See what you have this season, load up for next season, and fill in the holes when you actually have answers with a new coaching staff, with an offense, with whether or not Jalen Hurts is the guy. Is Lane Johnson coming back healthy? Is the defense settling it? When you get some answers, now you're loaded up with picks. That's the intelligent way to do this.
So George brings a good point here. Look how far Lamb dropped last year.
Right.
Let's, let the draft follow the Eagles. So at that number 12, I threw out a couple names. I'm not going to throw any more. Who would you guys say at 12? Or who would you want to see drop? Maybe they drop, or a player that you guys would like to see.
Who do we want, or who is realistically going to be available there?
Realistically, the top three guys you think are going to be at that 12 spot. So it could be a guy falling that you think is going to fall, but if not, who's going to be there?
I mean, I'm going defense. Horn, Surtain, Parsons. If any of those three guys are there, Horn, they're my guys. And I've always said it on the show. I'm a defense guy, so I want those three guys. Absolutely. And I don't even care. I mean, obviously, I want a linebacker. We've never drafted a linebacker in the first round. But honestly, any three of those, I'd be super happy.
Any three of those would be an automatic upgrade for sure.
Agreed. That or even one of the pass rushers, especially since you don't know what you're going to have with Derek Barnett. Brandon Graham's on his way out. There's a couple of pass rushers that are going to be there available as well. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I've just been seeing some mock drafts. So I agree. I feel they're going to be going defense. As much as everyone wants to go offense and try to have that offensive firepower, right? This draft, you can find some picks on day 2 that can give you some type of upgrade and some type of impact, especially at the wide receiver position, hopefully. So
they have 4 picks in the top 100 selections. Those are crucial picks. I understand you can get guys later, but it doesn't always work out that way. That's crucial. It isn't just a first round pick. It's those 4 picks they got to start hitting on.
See, that's where pick 6 crucial.
Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
Pick 6 is always a pick. You can't miss on pick 6. You can miss on pick 12, on 17, on 20, wherever you trade back to. You're not missing at pick 6. And that's still why I keep falling back to don't trade that 6th pick. At least not yet. Because you're not going to miss at pick 6. Even if he picks the wrong guy, it's still going to be a talented player. So that's why I still go back to I wouldn't have traded that pick.
That, and with that mindset, do you feel it takes a lot of the pressure off of Howie not trying to get the correct player at 6, where now you can sit back, see how the draft falls to him, like we keep on bringing up, and see who's going to be available? And the next question is, do you guys have faith in Howie?
I think it puts more pressure on him.
I agree.
It puts more pressure on Howie because now he has to now pick 12. At pick 6, he was going to get a good player no matter what. At pick 12, now he's screwed if he picks another bust. He doesn't have 3 to 5 years to see if Dirk Barnett turns into a great defensive end. Not Dirk Barnett, Brandon Graham turns into a good defensive end. It needs to hit immediately. And at 12, you're not for sure there. There's no developmental time.
But they're going to spin it this way, say, hey, we still have potentially 3 first-round draft picks next year. All we keep on hearing from management this offseason is we're not going to worry about the cap situation this year. We basically chalked it up as a loss. And with these moves that they've been doing this offseason, like Chip keeps on saying, they already thrown in the towel for this year. Whatever happens, happens. As much as they want to say they want to try contend in 2021, as an Eagles fan, it pisses you off. But from management standpoint, they're already looking at 2022 on try to turn this ship around because they're not having high expectations for next season, especially since they're not building around Jalen Hurts as it looks like. You don't know what you have with Jalen Hurts. You brought back a few aging veterans that might produce, but let's be real. This team was a 4-win football team for a reason last year, and they're not really making much of improvements unless they can get immediate impact from these players in this draft, which would be great for the future in their eyes.
Along with immediate, and I say immediate, but it's kind of like a fake immediate, along with immediate impact from last year's draft class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got no answers last year on Kayvon Wallace. We got no answers last year on Jalen Reagor. We got no answers on Davion Taylor. We got very, very, very few answers on Jack Driscoll. You know what I mean? We need a coach to go in there and let us know whether or not these players are going to fit with this new regime. That's got to be if I am Jeff Lurie.
Hell, I'll say
First off,
we haven't gotten an answer on 2019's draft picks yet.
I know. I try to not rag on them too much, but yeah.
I mean, we don't even have to last year. We could go down to Ortega-Whiteside and everybody else from 2019.
Yeah. Is this the season where J-Jaw does anything? You know what I mean? I think
something.
Look, yeah. we are we're passionate here in Philadelphia. We're critical about the wins and loss records. I don't want to look at this season and judge it based on wins and losses. Yes, obviously, I want to win. I want to make the playoffs. Johnny Higgins and I were talking on Monday night about how a 7-win sneak into the playoffs as the NFC East champions, that doesn't do it this season. That doesn't show me anything. Cool, you get playoff experience, but that doesn't tell me anything. Way I will judge this season is really simple. Did players, when they start from camp to the end of the season, get better? Did they develop? Did they learn schemes? Did they stop making the same mistakes? Did the offense build? Did they come up with a scheme that adapted when the defense is adapted? Did the defense adapt to the Did they learn this season? Because if that's the case, then 2022 is very positive. And then wherever the wins and losses fall, okay, but the team got better. Right now, we can't fix that with just one player. So 6, yes, I agree. 6 would have been a game changer. But 6 and a game changer doesn't solve this team's problems.
No, but you look at those past draft class, and I've said it, if you get production from this coaching staff to get a couple of these guys to show you something or elevate their game, whether it's Miles Sanders going back to the Miles Sanders we know of, Dallas Goedert staying healthy is the big thing with him, but elevating his play. You know, maybe you get something out of Andre Dillard if he stays on the roster. JJ Arcega-Whiteside. But then also last year, with it's looking more and more that they're going to have, you know, in the spring on field practices, which is going to be very beneficial. Not to just the rookies now. It's going to be beneficial to the players last year, young guys last year as well. But they need to get more production, of course, out of their draft classes. We know that. But like I said, what if this coaching staff can get that out of a handful of those players? What does it say from the last coaching staff, and what does it say about Howie Roseman? So there's a lot of questions that are going to be answered this offseason and going into the season.
It says nothing about Howie Roseman except maybe his record being tied directly to Doug Peterson was the problem. Look, again, and I've said this before, I said it on Monday, I'll say it over and over again. Doug, thank you. You got us the Lombardi. I appreciate it. Doug, piss off. You also completely screwed us by not develop. Look,
he got us a sixth pick. You can't hate him that much without him benching Jalen that week 17. He
got us a pick. He got us a pick
as we kicked
screwing the team. You know what I mean? Like,
we already got rid of.
It's such a fine line in the NFL because either you are absolutely dominant, right? And you don't need to develop players because everything clicks. And you saw that with Tampa Bay this season, right? They brought in stud after stud after stud. They had some young guys develop. It was great. But what are they doing this offseason? They're returning 22 out of 22 starters from a Super Bowl winning team. That's unheard of, right? So they're just at this point going to continue to dominate. It's a fine line. You have to win and do that, but you also have to have that next rung of guys ready to go. It's that next person up mentality. Doug Peterson focused solely on wins and losses and threw everything else by the wayside. There was no player development for so many years, and now it's starting to show. It's starting to show real bad, where we don't have anybody in the secondary that we have brought in from the draft that is worth a damn.
Well, Chip, you mentioned Tampa Bay. Their secondary, Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Antoine Winfield, and Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah.
All guys that they brought in, drafted, developed.
Right.
There isn't guys
and when did it finally click? Right. When did it click? When they brought in the rest of the studs around them. So remember, before last season, Tampa Bay was a bad team, right? They were a bad team. They brought in that Tom Brady air of winning around them, and it elevated the whole thing.
Yeah. But I'll say, as we want to shift some gears, we've been on this topic for about 32 minutes, fellas. Any last thoughts before we move forward?
Yeah, I'm just going to say piss off Doug Peterson again, because that seemed to hit home with everybody.
Oh,
piss on his statue.
Man.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, look, I again, and it's the same thing with Nick Foles, right? I love Nick Foles. I don't want him back as an Eagle. Then nobody. I'm cold. I got my blanket on and everything today.
But this is the All About the Birds weekly report on the
grumpy over there.
Man, you are really delayed. Whatever. This is the All About the Birds weekly report here on the All About the Birds network. We're going to pay some bills real quick. Thank you to a couple of our sponsors. We would like to thank Hemp Bombs Premium CBD Products. You can find out all their products at www.hempbombs.com. Use promo code AATBirds for 20% off. We would also like to thank 99jersey.com. They are partnered with us here at AAT Birds. A lot of great products from a lot of great movies from Major League, Varsity Blues, Replacements. Chip, you know a couple of the others.
The Water Boy. I got my Bobby Boucher. The Mighty Ducks. Get y'all Charlie Conway jerseys.
Oh, yeah. Have you guys watched the new... I'll say I love the first episode. The fact they got Bombay back into it. So
we'll do a separate sports TV show podcast. Maybe we'll do that one night.
Definitely. I'm in. But make sure that you go to their website. They have a lot of great products. Use the code AATBirds for 20% off discount at checkout. And we would also like to thank our new sponsor of AAT Birds, Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. 20% off and free shipping with code AATBirds. Again, AAT Birds for 20% off and free shipping with code. We like to thank them for our little care package from them. so far working great. So if you are looking to invest and groom yourself, make sure to check them out and use our code. Just by helping our sponsors, by supporting our sponsors, you're supporting us. So we'd like to thank all of you, and you make sure to use those codes and check out our sponsors. So
I want to add one more to that. Look, all month we've been talking about my very good friend Don Conaway.
Definitely.
Right? All month we've been talking about it. And tonight is obviously the last night of March. Mm-hmm. Listen, my friend Don Conaway, I've had him on the show. He works with me. He's a teacher. He is now getting involved in the podcasting world. He is in a contest with a bunch of teachers in North America. It is 2 clicks, people. You click on the link. It is on the Facebook comments, the YouTube comments, and the Twitter comments. Click the link, find Don Conaway, give it a click. It can get $10,000 to our students in technology, plus bragging rights to the hometown Flyers representative. Do it. It takes 2 clicks. That's all I'm going to say. Shout out to Don Conaway. What's up?
And that ends tonight. So if you're watching this now, make sure to do it right now because it does end at 11:59 tonight to help Chip and his friend win that award and win the money for their school. But as we're shifting gears on the All About the Birds weekly report, the Eagles did sign a wide receiver, fellas.
They did.
Not the one that we all hope for, any big free agent, but it was announced this past week that the Eagles and Greg Ward, he did sign his exclusive rights tender, which I just had that information, which gives him $850,000 1-year contract minimum wage for the 2021 third-year players. Ward is the only Eagles wide receiver on the roster of more than 40 career receptions, exclusive
for 40 total yards.
Yeah, pretty freaking much. So after Ward, Travis Fulgham is the next most career receptions on the Eagles roster. And surprisingly, I know Phil hates Greg Ward. Hey, I'm trying to build the signing.
The banner.
I'm trying to make him seem more than what it needs to be. But Ward has 81 catches, which is 6th most in Eagles history by a player in his first 23 games. So suck that, Phil. Fellas, your thoughts?
Yeah, how many catches was that? I mean, how many yards? Like 4 yards a catch, probably.
He's the poor man Jason Avant, bro.
So wait, let me. I'm not the salary cap guy. So Johnny, do me a favor. I'm going to say some words and tell me if this is what ends up happening. Right? See if this makes sense. So he signed his exclusive right deals. Yeah, sure. So he signed this exclusive rights tender. So what that meant is they offered a contract that basically said, if anybody wants him, this is what you have to pay for him. Right?
No.
Okay. Can you explain this thing then? Because I got the impression that no other team in the NFL wanted this guy.
No, exclusive rights free agent is the team offers him a contract depending on his tenure, because you get a certain amount depending on how many years you're in the league.
George, sorry to cut you off, Johnny. George, it's a slow news time right now. We have to have something. Go ahead, Johnny. Sorry.
Exclusive rights free agent is you get offered a contract. If you don't want to take that offer, you sit out. It's basically the team offers you the deal, you sign it. It's not like a restricted free agent is what I think you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Exclusive rights free agent's a little bit different.
So follow-up point. Cool. Like
it was a move. It was a move that it was expected to happen.
No, and it's Greg Ward, and he had a good relationship with
Carson,
whoever was playing quarterback, and I just look.
Now,
Greg
John,
Ward.
Do they owe him the money if for some reason he is cut before the start of the season? How does that work?
I believe so. I think it is.
So he's guaranteed that money regardless.
Yeah. It's just the minimum salary. So the thing with it is it's $800,000. I understand if he doesn't, he's gonna be, he's gonna be on the team. He's a veteran on the team. It's a big deal. It's a deal. It's not the end of the world. He's
not the end of the world, but he's obviously making the roster. We have a heavy wide receiving room right now with a lot of young veteran or a lot of young talent. We expect them to make some type of move, either hopefully in free agency or somehow throughout this draft, where they're going to add more weapons in the wide receiving room. So he's obviously going to be taking up one of those spots. And what does that say about the rest of our talent that we're going to have there? Or who's going to be the odd man out? Who's going to be on the practice squad or get picked up by another team? It's going to be interesting to see how Sirianni plays out with this roster, because you're not going to sign a guy to an exclusive tender deal. Yeah, it's only $850,000, but that's $850,000 you could use somewhere else if you didn't expect him to be on the team.
So, Jeff, to answer your question, if they do cut him, they say $850,000. It's not guaranteed unless he makes the roster.
Okay, yeah, okay. That's what I was trying to get at, because if otherwise he's guaranteed to make a roster, but if he's not on the roster day one and get that money back, okay.
Listen, as Jeff said though, look, he is number 6 in Philadelphia Eagles history in his first game. In his first, who gives a rat's ass about his bull crap? Greg Ward is a wide receiver who stays healthy. Neat. I'm glad that he has now an opportunity to work with a coach who's going to develop him. If he makes something, cool. If he doesn't, cool. If he plays third string quarterback, cool. It's Greg Ward, y'all.
He is also only 26.
Cool. That was we can end that segment right there, right?
He's the poor man's Jason Avant. End of story. Whatever happens.
A2, wait, can I just say, I did like the one question that A2 T-Ville asked. 30 seconds each. Who would you rather have suiting up this year? The 18th rendition of Jordan Matthews or Greg Ward?
I'm going to go Greg Ward. Jordan Matthews.
Yeah, I'm going Greg Ward. Jordan Matthews was a major freaking bust. For a guy at his size and supposedly talent to be that much of a freaking stinker on the field, I'll go with Greg Ward. At least Greg Ward, as he's not the flashy wide receiver.
Greg Ward's made a lot of money.
Productive for the most part. I know
Greg Ward's made a lot of money, or Jordan Matthews has made a lot of money in the NFL.
He has.
He's good. He's been like freaking with 7 different teams over
a long time.
He's like
he's been with the Eagles Daniel. 7 different times.
He's like Chase Daniel, where he doesn't act like he's a fallback guy, and I don't understand how that guy makes money. Yeah. All right. That's more than enough, Greg Ward.
We don't need to talk about Greg Ward anymore. But real quick, I was just so we can dissect a little bit with Jalen Hurts on the wide receiving core. Do you guys feel even if they draft a wide receiver in round 1 or 2 with the wide receiver room pretty much unproven and weak, would you guys blame Hurts' struggles if they do not give him a proven weapon? As we see, they already trade down from 6. They're not going to have Pitts. They're not going to have Chase. They signed Greg Ward. What else is really out there right now for them to really make any type of improvement? So by them not upgrading, at least with a proven veteran or an impact player, do we bring up the point if Hurts struggles next season? Does he get a mulligan? Do we get that? And that's the one thing I'm worried about. Like I keep on saying, I want no excuses for Hurts next year if we don't put players around him. So by them trading down to 12, not getting a veteran wide receiver, and now bringing back Greg Ward, it just gives up. What's the word I'm looking for?
Listen. I understand the point you're trying to get to. Basically, you're saying if they don't give Jalen Hurts the tools, can we blame Jalen Hurts for not being successful? That's what, in theory, you're basically asking, right?
Essentially.
Okay. Who did McNabb have outside of T.O.? Who did McNabb have most of his career? He had Reggie Brown. He had James Thrash. He had Todd Stinkston. He had Jason Avant. He had Greg Lewis. He had Freddie Mitchell. He had Hank Baskett. These are players that he made look really good. But if you are a stud quarterback in this league, you make players around you better.
Yeah, but he also had a great offensive line that kept him upright.
So what should the question really be? If they don't fix the offensive line, is he to blame if he goes behind the same line and has the same problems?
But the thing is, don't be surprised. Look, Phil's mentioned this. What if they don't trade Zach Ertz? He's still on.
I don't think they should. At this point, if you're not getting what you think you should get for him, don't trade him just to trade him. Don't cut him just to cut him. Listen, nobody wanted you. shut up and prove it this season if you can still play. We need you. You need us. Go ahead.
There's a veteran pass catcher, and he's on the roster. Yep. So
as a tight end too, like Goddard proved himself a tight end 1.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like healthy.
There's no, and that's what my biggest complaint about the Carson Wentz trade when you shake the whole thing out is he stomped his feet and he threw a hissy fit. You could have just not traded him. You know what I mean? Just you want to act like that, then don't show up. You know, or sit the season out. Now you end up getting what you got for him, and okay. Zach Ertz is the same thing. Don't trade him just to trade him. Get what you're asking, or slightly under, but he's under contract here. Play.
Yeah.
Nobody is jumping up to get him.
No one's jumping. He's gonna be a draft day trade. There's gonna be a player that falls for the Eagles, or falls in the draft that the Eagles are enticed about, and they're gonna throw in Zach Ertz as a bonus piece to whoever team they trade to get that player. That's my eyes. Ertz ain't gonna get moved until the draft. But to your point, I would say, like Johnny said, McNabb had a good offensive line, but he also had a stellar defense that was one of the top defenses in the league for many years with a great defensive coordinator. It was a well-rounded team. I understand McNabb had crappy wide receivers, but for those first 3-4 years of McNabb's tenure, Andy pounded the ball. We had the three-headed monster with Deuce, Carell, Buckhalter, and Westbrook.
And the weak point of the team was his wide receivers.
Yes,
exactly. And that was kind of my point. Look, I know that wasn't a very fair comparison, but you're saying go out and get him a playmaker. My point is that he's got some playmakers or potential playmakers.
They're unproven.
Unproven. So what looks like a good year for Hurts is, does he make good decisions with the ball? Does he improve on his accuracy? Does he give it an extra half second in the pocket? Does the coach actually scheme for him? You can't put it solely on passing yards for Jalen Hurts' success.
You can't. But the one thing that we scrutinized last season, which, don't get me wrong, Carson had a bad year, but you look at a lot of those games, you saw a lot of drop balls. You saw a lot of routes. So it's going to be interesting. The fan base doesn't have the confidence in this wide receiving core. Even if Jalen Hurts is a stud quarterback, we don't know what type of production he's going to put up with a crappy wide receiving core and no weapons. So that's why fans are outraged and want them to try to find something to put around him so we know what we have at the quarterback position. I understand the offensive line. They really need to provide some depth. Because that was the one thing that sucked last year. As soon as a player went down, they had no one behind him. They weren't ready for the next man up mentality, where a lot of those guys are coming back this year. So if everyone can stay healthy with our starting 5, I feel the offensive line isn't going to be as much of a problem as a lot of people are believing. But they still have to.
I don't think the offensive line is a huge problem. I think that they had the top 5, right? They had their top 5, and they had a solid 6, 7, and 8. As far as offensive linemen went.
Yeah.
The problem came in when they dipped into the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th depth on the depth chart of offensive linemen. Yeah. You can't expect your Jamone Browns, you can't expect them to be NFL caliber players.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's what we did as fans.
The thing is, now you get all those, maybe they'll get a record with the combinations now that they've added an extra game to the slate. Now there's 17 games. So
what a great segue.
Yeah, I was going to say, Johnny, good job.
But how do you guys feel with the 17th game? Now they took a preseason game off, so it's 3 preseason games.
Good. The last preseason game sucked.
Yeah, exactly.
So now the third preseason game will suck. So yeah. Now there's a lot of backlash. Now the third preseason game will suck. Yeah. There's a lot of backlash from the players. I see that. I think the Bears owner actually they vetoed it, but I think that was the only ownership to veto the extra game. But it's going to be an extra game. Eagles are going to play at the Jets. That's their matchup for the 17th extra.
Which we got a gift.
Yeah, we're undefeated against that 11-0 all time. So as many people think that we're going to suck, at least there's possibly one victory on our schedule for next season.
I don't know. I wouldn't chalk it
Is
as
this
a
the
W.
year the
just saying.
You know what it
never
is?
be talked of a 500 team making the playoffs.
Yeah,
That is very true.
there you go.
I'll say
Kind of trying to find the positive in it.
There you go. You found it.
the one positive that also you have to throw out there is, as people that work in this country, because of this, they're pushing back the playoffs, which pushes back the Super Bowl to the Sunday leading up to President's Day. So you don't have to worry about, for most businesses, besides you, Phil, because you own a pizza shop and open 24/7 basically, or 7 days a week. But you don't have to worry about people calling off the next day. Because you'll have most of the country will be off for President's Day, so that's one thing to look forward to. The Super Bowl is a lot later, and this could be the potential they decide to expand the season some more down the road, 18, 19, maybe 20 game season. You're looking at the possible beginning of March, which opens up a lot more venues for the Super Bowl, because the one thing that continues to happen, everyone complains that only warm states get the Super Bowl or domes. So everyone wants a Super Bowl in Philadelphia or back in New York, which I was at that Super Bowl. It was freezing cold in the beginning of February. So I don't blame them, but it potentially opens some things up. And for guys like Phil, it's an extra week for people to gamble. More money.
Look, more football as a fan is wonderful. As an owner, more football means more money. As a player, it's another opportunity to get hurt. As a coach, it's another opportunity to scheme and try to make sense of, hey, look, we're going to play the 17th game. Do we now sit players for the 16th? We start them. So we always have the undefeated conversation, right? You have an undefeated team going into week 16, into week 17. You play your starters. Okay. So now do you kind of sit them in the first half of the 16th game, and then all of a sudden it's a new part of the strategy. It was always going to happen. The players aren't happy about it, and now it's just an extra opportunity for these injured players to step up and show things. I'm excited if the game actually matters.
Only some of the players aren't happy about it because they still had to get passed through the NFLPA. So the Players Association agreed to this with the owners. So I understand you're not going to make everyone 100% happy. I understand Alvin Kamara's all pissed off about it, but it takes away a preseason game. Granted, I understand most of these guys aren't playing a full preseason game, but it's going to be almost about the same amount of wear and tear on your body. It adds more excitement to the league. It gets you on an extra week. The revenue continues to go up. Stop bitching and play football. You're making millions of dollars playing a sport most people would love to have the opportunity to do. So it's a win-win for the entire NFL.
Jeff, the one thing that, and I saw the guy that runs the Senior Bowl say it, that a lot of players, they don't, I'm not going to say they live and die for the game. They play the game because they're good at it, stuff like that. Almost like everyone else has jobs. Not everyone loves their job. They do it because it's a means of living. And they
doing that's a crock of shit. If you don't love football and you have a chance, if you have a chance to make the pros, then don't freaking do it. Whatever you went to college for, get that major, use that degree, and go start a business or whatever the hell you got your degree in. Don't play football if you don't want to have the opportunity, if you don't want to play the sport. That's a crock of shit.
I'm not saying they don't want to play the sport, but they're not.
Yeah, my internet works perfectly on that little tangent.
But it's guys like I know, looking and watching guys like Fletcher Cox. He doesn't watch football. He doesn't really. He plays the game because, one, he's good at it. If you're good at a profession, if you're good at a certain profession, you can do it to a high level. You may not love doing it, but you do it because it's a means of living and you're good at it. There's also that aspect as well. It isn't because they don't want to. The thing is, some people aren't in love with the game, but they're good at it, so they do it because it's a means of living.
Now, the one thing that I will say, and we're four hardworking dudes ourselves, so it does. The way I'm going to phrase this, it sounds terrible. The one thing that is really shitty for the players is it's almost kind of like a pay cut, because now instead of getting paid over 17 weeks, they're getting paid over 18 weeks. So their per game number is going down. So that is some bullshit.
But it also helps them now to meet a lot of those that bonus money and a lot of those incentive deals. So if they pass for 4,000 yards or 15 touchdowns, a lot of these star players have the opportunity to meet those incentives to make that extra money. Right. So
that's what they're trying to weigh, and that's what weighing some of that is. Like, you want to get to take a little bit of a hit if you signed a contract before this was agreed to. You're taking that hit, but if you can reach and get a bonus, if you got more bonus in your contract or something like that, where you certain yardage, then you kind of can make that up. So what Jeff said there makes a lot of sense with some of the guys being able to do that to make basically that money. But a lot of them are upset, I think, because of that aspect. But if they can try and make it up in bonuses and stuff. But for me, you look at it also, the salary cap, this extra game, and then these TV contracts, all that just makes it go up in the years going down the line. So that's another aspect to look at as well.
That and just all these streaming platforms now. Yeah. I would say there's gonna be a lot of money for a lot of people to go around, whether it's the players, the owners, the league. Everyone's going to make a crap load of money over the next couple of seasons, unless we have another pandemic, God forbid. But any last final thoughts on the week's NFL getting 17 weeks?
Now more football, hopefully. I wish it was they made week 17 a divisional game because week 17 ain't guaranteed. That just because they announced the Eagles at the Jets doesn't mean that's going to be the 17th week. It's just the 17th opponent.
They're not announcing the schedule till May. Once they figure out,
that's something that needs to happen. It's got to be a divisional game because those games where it's like, hey, someone's getting in tonight.
Yeah,
that's the only added drama in week 17.
Oh, they'll continue that. They've been doing that for the last 5-6 years now. So I guarantee they're going to try to figure out who's going to be in playoff contention week 16 and 17. Those are going to be bulked up with a lot of playoff implication games. So
it's week 17 and 18 now.
Oh, yeah, 17 and 18 because of the bye week. My apologies. But as we all know, we're all sports fans here, and we know we're an Eagles show. But
I'm going to do one better here. Wait, keep going. Go ahead. It's got to switch. It's got to switch.
There we go. I don't know how to change it, but we're all of us here on the platform are baseball fans, MLB baseball.
You better say baseball.
I got more stuff around you too.
We know 3 of the 4 root for the Fighting Phils. The other one in the upper left corner is somehow a Seattle Mariners fan. God forbid. I don't know how the hell that happened, but Phil had, as he does weekly on his Twitter account, he had a poll. Right, you had a poll, I believe. Do you have the results of those polls?
Yeah, that's the poll of the week. Yeah, absolutely. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now on my phone.
Well, let me read it real quick.
What are the best results potential for the Phillies?
There we go.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, the results, my friend.
Do you have the results?
Oh, you're good? Okay. What's the max potential? It's the World Series champs right now, 7%. Win the division, 26%. Fight for playoff spot, 57%. And no playoffs, under 80 wins, 10%. About 200 votes so far.
Whew.
So let's have a non-Phillies, non-biased opinion. Since I don't like the Phillies, I'll give my opinion on what I think.
Go ahead.
I think that I think they'll contend for a playoff spot, but I feel like they're going to finish third in the division behind the Braves. The Braves are the best team in that division, and I think the Mets are going to be, with the Mets pitching staff, I think they're going to be ahead of the Phillies. I think Phillies finished third. They'll be battling with Washington. Is my opinion. They'll fight for a playoff spot. They won't make the playoffs.
So,
Washington will actually be last in the division, in my opinion. Washington's probably the worst team.
So, as discussed on Monday night, here's what you need to understand about the Phillies. Their offense is stacked. You know, if they can get Rhys Hoskins to continue to fix his swing because of Gabe Kapler screwing it up for so many seasons, then that's going to be an improvement. The starting rotation is not as good as hyped up to be. I do not think Aaron Nola is a number 1 starter in this league. I have gone on record saying it. I hope I'm wrong and he's in the contention for the Cy Young. The bullpen is the problem. The bullpen got better, but some of those guys they sent down. Like the fact that Archie Bradley is not the closer and they're still sticking with Hector Neris, I'm not okay with that. So I think based on some of the things that are coming out, and center field is weak. The rest of the lineup is stacked, but center field is weak. They had other options. They took the PR safe move, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But this team, I think they're competing for a wild card spot behind the Braves, and they're competing with the Mets.
Do you have faith in starters 3, 4, 5? Honestly,
No.
Do you have faith in starters 3, 4, 5? Nola.
I don't have faith in starters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So to me, that's a big problem. If you have no faith in like Nola and Wheeler, yes.
Sorry, I have faith in starter 2. I have faith in starter 2.
And again, that's why I have it.
You got to stop that there. Nola is a perennial Cy Young candidate.
But why? His stuff isn't dominant. He
finished second in Cy Young 2 years ago.
But why? His stuff isn't dominant. He is not going to go out there and get you 15 to 18
98
strikeouts.
miles an hour.
I didn't say that. Getting 15 to 18 strikeouts is why I consider dominant.
You don't have to strike out people. Greg Maddux didn't strike out. Greg Maddux didn't strike people out. Greg Maddux didn't have dominant stuff. He just knew how to use what he had. And I'm not comparing Aaron Nola to that level yet, but Aaron Nola is the similar type of pitcher. He's dominant. He definitely is not getting enough credit from you there, Chip.
No, and I know that. I look at him more like a Cole Hamels, where he's a good pitcher, but he shouldn't be a team's number 1 starter. He shouldn't be the guy that gets the ball in game 1 of a series. That's my problem.
I just feel this team has a little bit too many holes. I feel they're going to contend for a playoff spot, probably the wild card, but I don't see them being much of a contender in the division. This division just improved pretty much all of them this offseason. So I don't follow baseball that closely, but I know that the Phillies, as much as I love them, one of the contend, I feel they do best when they're a little bit the underdog. So hopefully they can thrive off of that.
I seem to have fired up Jason a little bit.
Yeah, you did. He's going to send you his article that he wrote for AATBirds.com probably at least 10 or 20 times to have you read over it.
But
try to drop that knowledge.
I'll be up late tomorrow watching my team play the Gabe Kapler San Francisco Giants. So
real quick, how the hell did you become a Seattle fan? We have like 5 or 10 people asking about that. So how the hell you become a Mariners fan real quick?
Ken Griffey Jr.
It doesn't matter how he became a fan because it's fake.
Okay. Real quick, who's everyone's World Series picks real quick?
Not the Phillies.
Obviously not.
I think the Dodgers get back there again. But I don't know. I need to start. They got to start playing. Let's actually see.
Well, you're supposed to pick it before the season starts, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
I'm focused on the Phillies. I want them to win.
Okay.
And by the way, and I know, Jason, yes, Cole Hamels won a World Series on a rotation with Brett Myers, Jamie Moyer, and Joe Blanton. I get that. But they didn't win the World Series entirely because of pitching. And how do we know that? Because they tried to overhaul their pitching staff after that. Completely overhaul it. Where Cole Hamels became the 4th best option.
Yeah, I agree with Adam. Dodgers are in the Yanks in the World Series. One of them is probably going to win it, unfortunately.
Who do you got, Phil?
I mean, I really haven't paid close enough attention to the offseason, because I just go Phillies. Baseball's a sport that I'm the total homer on. I will pick the Phillies to win the World Series every year, forever. And, I don't look at baseball objectively. I look at baseball as the homer that I am. So, Phillies, of course. Just like Jason, World Series or bust.
How much was your bet you placed?
What was that?
Didn't you place a bet on the Phillies to win the World Series?
I can't say how much, but they were I made a bet for the Phillies to win the World Series. They were 35-1. They're about middle of the pack. I made a bet on Zach Wheeler, not Aaron Nola, to win Cy Young. He was middle of the pack. He was 40-1. And I bet, and I actually like this bet, Bryce Harper to win MVP at 10-1 or 11-1.
So I'm going to throw mine. Mine's going to be the NL East leader is going to be the Braves. So the Braves are going to go and they're going to play the Blue Jays, young Blue Jays team who are going to hit their stride this year. It's going to be Braves, Blue Jays. Braves win it all.
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's a little bit different than what I've seen.
I think the Angels with having Mike Trout is always.
I like the Padres.
The Padres are a very good team.
Yeah,
Padres are good.
I think Phil froze,
but I think
he made it the whole show and didn't freeze until now. So that's a positive. That's positive. Any final
Jason,
thoughts?
the only season where Aaron Nola was dominant, and by the way, Jason, you and I are gonna have a conversation because I think we're gonna have a special Phillies show where you and I talk about some shit on Chips and Dish on a Monday night. So hold on to your DMs there. But the only season where Aaron Nola was dominant was 2018 when he was 17-6, right? Okay, so yes, he finished third in the Cy Young Award. 12-7 after that. Okay. 5-5 last year and he finished 7th in the Cy Young. Okay. So he's not a dominant. He had one dominant season, but consistency, no, sir. No, sir. No,
Jeff,
sir.
You're looking too much into the numbers aspect.
I am.
He's
also
Billy
had a dog crap bullpen. I know.
He's Billy Bean, baby. It's all about the numbers. Moneyball.
Time to wrap it up.
Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, fellas?
No.
Okay.
Not even a little.
I'd sign
Greg Ward for MVP.
So he fills out of adult beverage. He wants to get the hell out of here, back to his vacation. We appreciate everyone tuning in to the All About the Birds weekly report here on the All About the Birds network. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media platforms so you can catch all our daily content here on the All About the Birds network. Fridays, you'll have Birds, Beers, and BS with myself and Peanut. Saturday, we have Tom Barnett and Johnny Uleka with the All About the Birds draft show. Any guests this week, Johnny, or anything that you guys are exclusively going to be talking about?
No, guys, we may go over some of the pro day stuff. I will have a interview dropping with Siena Heights linebacker.
There you go.
Nick Stallworth, probably tomorrow at some point. We did an interview talking about basically everything with him with the COVID season. So it's a good interview. Definitely check that out.
Awesome. Monday's Chips and Dish. Chip, any guests for Monday?
I mean, apparently Jason is coming on. I gotta solidify that. Listen, I feel like I will help you out here. So we have the March Madness All About the Birds bracket. And up until last night, my wife was kicking all of our asses. But it is now moved.
Who's winning?
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a Warner at the top right now.
She somehow almost wins or at least places every freaking year. Every year Johnny would do a bracket, she would ask for my help, and somehow she would freaking win.
Whoa. Stop trying to seem like you're the one making her.
She's a computer hack, isn't she? She's like hacking into the system and changing her results.
She might be. But
what we're learning about this is that our wives
they do better.
Are much better at sports than us. And the fact that the 4 of our ugly mugs are on every week is the problem. So look for a more feminine touch later on this season.
Definitely. Tuesdays, Fairways to Heaven with Jason and Phil. If you did not catch this past week's episode, I suggest go back to the YouTube channel and check it out. They had the great Jonathan Coachman on the program to talk some golf as well as some betting odds and a bunch of other things. He was a great guest. So if you did miss that program, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, go give it a watch, as well as all our other content on our YouTube channel. So make sure to check it out. Make sure to check out our website, aatbirds.com. We have a lot of great content. Dave and Adam have been killing it with all this pro day information over the last couple weeks. So make sure to check that out to hear what the latest prospects in the NFL draft are saying as they head into their pro days, as well as a bunch of other great content. We'll have some Phillies content from our buddy Jason. So make sure to check it out. If you're looking to join the team, hit one of us up either on AAT Birds Twitter or one of our Twitter accounts. So, gentlemen, great show as always. Again, appreciate everyone for tuning in. We'd like to thank our sponsors real quick. Hemp Bombs 99 Jersey, and of course, our new sponsor, Manscaped. Make sure to check out all their websites and use the keyword AAT Birds for a discount code to get some discount off whatever your order may be at those websites. So, gentlemen, Awesome. Follow Johnny at Twitter at Johnny9322, Phil Stifle at Beard of Knowledge, Chip at Chips for the Birds, myself, Jeff Warner, NFL. And as we end every show, ladies and gentlemen, we say, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Support for All About the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. Manscaped hooked us up with a bunch of tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, including the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with an LED light for a more precise shave and is waterproof to make your shower shave clean and easy. The Perfect Package also includes a deodorant for your undercarriage to prevent odors and chafing, a reviving lotion, a pair of boxers and a t-shirt, not to mention a travel bag to store all your grooming goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code AATBIRDS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.